Hey everyone, welcome to the Dare to Care podcast, the podcast where we talk about the inner workings of ministry at Inspire Family Fellowship and community stories within the church. If you have any comments, stories, or questions about Inspire or our Dare to Care ministries at any point during the podcast today, you can send those questions to Amy at inspirefamily.org. We also invite you to join us in person at Inspire any Sunday or Wednesday that you're able. Our Sunday services are at 9:15 and 10:45. Our Wednesday services start with a meal at 5, classes at 6, and a service at 7. Our address is 523 North 21st Street, Bismarck, North Dakota, if I haven't said that already. My name's Ty Farnsworth. I am the worship coordinator here at Inspire Family Fellowship, and I'm joined today by our Dare to Care coordinator, Amy, as well as our special guest today, Mr. Blake Simon. Blake, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Ty?
I'm doing well. We are recording this right after a service, so I'm kind of coming down on
you're
the service
still a
side.
little
But we're very happy to have you here and very intrigued to hear you share your story.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool because we've already had your wife, Nicole, on, and we actually had your sister-in-law, Shannon, on as well, too. So it's like we got to get through the whole family here.
Right.
So I guess let's just get rolling. So Blake, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you from Bismarck?
I am actually from Pierre, South Dakota originally.
Ooh, okay.
Grew up in Pierre. We moved to Bismarck when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
So I started at BHS, graduated from BHS, went to the University of South Dakota, go Yotes, and then moved back to Bismarck after graduating and have been back in Bismarck since 2011.
Okay.
And then we'll kind of jump into your faith story a little bit. So did you grow up going to church, or how did you end up at Inspire, I guess is the big question.
So I was thinking about that. So I was baptized Lutheran. My best friend growing up was Catholic, and then I had another friend who I think went to a Baptist church because I went to Awana for a year.
Okay. The Holy Trinity.
Right. I mean, it was all over the board. But at some point in time, we just kind of stopped going to church. Always kind of had that pull. And then when I think it was when I was in high school, but even into college and then after college, my mom was talking about this guy that she grew up with in Winter, South Dakota, named Ernie Hockett. And I just kind of brushed it off because I was like, Mom, we don't go to church. And funny enough, one of my best friends in Bismarck got married, and we met the pastor. And it was this wildly energetic older gentleman. And then he said his name, and I was like, Mom, what's that guy's name? She said, Ernie. I said, yeah, okay, we can go see him. So we went to City Life the weekend after the wedding, which was Ernie's church here for a little bit. It was weird going to a church and a funeral home because it was like, are we in the right place? Mm-hmm. But we went, and I mean, it was a really small community, and then we followed Ernie to Surprise. And from Surprise, we tried to kind of stay at Surprise for a little bit. Ernie left. There were some... We wanted, I think, a little bit more, and we ended up coming to Inspire after we actually had some counseling sessions with Ernie. And I think because my mom had come before we had. Mm-hmm. And there were some things that she was like, there are some things that she wasn't as fond with at the time, but I think have grown on her since. We attended one service. We're like, all right, we're home. Mm-hmm. Sure. And we've been coming here ever since. I think that was February of 2020 that we came to our first service.
That's awesome. It's like they just had a birthday.
Yeah.
6 years.
Well, I was gonna say that's a heck of a time to come because you show up. Yeah. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But in your case, you're here, and then 2 weeks later, you can't come to church for another 6 months. So it's like, wow, that was bad timing.
Right.
So you talked a little bit about not going to church. Did that disappear at any specific point in your life? Was it during the move to Bismarck or going to college?
No, it was when I was younger. I think we were about 10. I think I was about 10. And I'm not sure what it was, if it was just like, hey, we got so many other things going on. It's one more thing. I know that the Lutheran church that we went to in Pierre didn't have any sort of kids program. So, I mean, I remember sitting there as a kid just bored out of my mind trying to follow a pastor. And I mean, not to build up Randy too much. His services are engaging and entertaining. Mm-hmm. This was your traditional cut and service, and I mean, it was dry. And as a kid, it was hard to it was hard to follow along.
Hard to stay
and I think it was like, hey, I'm tired of dealing with this little, you know what, let's just not have to deal with, add the headache to that sort of thing.
Sure.
I don't know if I was the reason that my parents stopped going to church, but it did. It just kind of fell out. I did attend with my best friend. I did attend a few Catholic masses in Pierre, but I mean, I wasn't a confirmed Catholic, so like when they went to go do draw communion and that sort of thing, I didn't. Except the one time that I did, they're like, they're not going to know.
Until they do it, and then it's like, oh gosh, no, I gotcha. What was it about Ernie that captivated you guys, or what kept you coming to Inspire? You mentioned Randy's sermons are engaging.
It's with Ernie, it's the energy, how approachable he is, how relatable he is. I mean, I don't mean this in any sort of way. He has an attraction about him.
Sure.
It's just like he's magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
He's got such good energy. He's funny. He's so relatable with everything that you want. I mean, it's with children, if you have problems that you're going through, if you just need someone to talk to, if you want to just have a conversation, Ernie is your guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's so approachable. But he can. If he wants to get down to brass tacks, he will. Mm-hmm. And he has no problem saying this is how it is and this is what you need to do.
Sure. That's why we call him the people whisperer.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you don't feel loved by Ernie,
right.
then there's something,
there's something wrong with you.
Seriously
It's not
wrong
right.
because Ernie will show you the love.
Yeah. Very cool.
Now, you're in Bismarck.
Mm-hmm.
When did you and Nicole get married?
We got married June 30th, 2018.
Okay.
We met in March of 2014.
And so when you guys got married, were you now? Sorry, I couldn't follow your whole timeline.
Sure.
But were you already part of like whatever church
Ernie
was at? Or?
Yes, we were
Okay.
at Surprise at that point in
Okay.
time.
And so Ernie was he married you?
Yes, Ernie did marry us.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Once you got married, I know, and again, like I said earlier, if there's a road you don't want to go down or whatnot, we don't have to. But I know you went through some struggles in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you had some challenges.
Yeah.
Do you want to just kind of tell us a little bit about that and how, from what I've heard in Bible studies that I've attended with you, you kind of had like your God moment.
Yeah, I had.
And I would just love to hear that if you're willing to
I
share.
would love to share that.
So yeah, why don't you take us that route?
So when I was in college, I remember reading a quote once upon a time where it was like, for so many people, college is just where you discover that you're an alcoholic. So I got into the party scene a little bit in college and met a girl in college and we kind of had first love and fell in love and that sort of thing. And she ended up moving out to Seattle, Washington. And for a long time, we kind of tried to maintain a relationship some sort of relationship. And then shortly after graduating college, she'd kind of broken it off, but we maintained contact. And then I met up with her at graduation in the spring semester of 2011. And after that interaction, last time I ever saw her, it hit me that relationship was over. As a very serious, just admission to anyone else, if you are ever dealing with like mental health issues, seek a counselor. Don't do what I did. I drowned my sorrows with alcohol. And I'm not going to sugarcoat. Alcohol helped me get through that, but it wasn't in a beneficial sort of way because once I was over her, then I was hooked to alcohol. Mm-hmm. It's that if you, I'm trying to remember the exact line. If you're using something to serve you, you eventually become the servant to it. It becomes the master. And so despite the fact that I had gotten over this relationship, I couldn't stop drinking. I was pretty much an every night alcoholic for the better part of 9 years from May of 2011 through, ironically enough, February of 2020.
Interesting.
And I met Nicole in March of 2014, and about 2 weeks in, I had mentioned to her that hey, I have this drinking problem, and being the young, naive girl that she was at that time was like, oh, I can fix him. We can work on that. Mm-hmm. Alcohol is not an easy thing to just fix. There were times where it was coming to terms with admitting that you have a problem. And the problem with addiction is you can know you have a problem. You can want to do everything you want to stop it. And it just keeps coming back. So over that 9-year stretch, there was like 1 week where I was on antibiotics and you couldn't use alcohol, so I didn't. Otherwise, I rarely went 48 hours without drinking. And it's not like a 6-pack. It was drink until I can't drink anymore and then fall asleep sort of drinking. Functional alcoholic, I was the executive chef at the Ramkota throughout that entire time for the most part. And fairly successful at doing it. I look back and wonder, what would have happened if I hadn't been a drunk, but maybe whatever else could have happened. So we ran into some turmoil in our marriage. We were seeking Ernie, and I mean, I would say the right things. I was doing kind of the right things, but nothing changed. A meeting that we had with Ernie in February of 2020, the earlier part, we kind of went in and said the same thing, and it was, I had drank again, and it was excuses or whatever it was. Like, I would like to feign improvement. Like, yeah, I didn't drink as much, or I'm not drinking as much as I used to, which, frankly, is a lie. If you're drinking 16 beers or the equivalent of 16 beers, it doesn't matter if you're used to drinking 18 beers. Like, who cares? Ernie in that meeting basically said, if you don't do anything about this, I'm going to stop seeing you. So that's where I say Ernie will tell you what it is. He flat out said, if you don't do anything, there's no point in me seeing you if you're not going to do anything about this. Our first Inspire service was February 16th of 2020. And then we went again the following Sunday, which was February 23rd, 2020. And then the night of February 25th, I've been having these thoughts of like, I don't know what to do. I'm sitting here in our house with less than a year and a half, an old daughter, a marriage that's falling apart. If that falls apart, if we get divorced, we lose the house. I probably lose custody of my kid. I just kind of sat back. I was doing my same old thing. I was sitting on my couch at about 2:30 in the morning, playing Madden, of all things. And something just came over me. I paused the game and sat back in my chair, and I had this old college lamp, the ones that have the inverse cone. Yeah. It was lit up in the corner over there. And I don't know what it was. Something drew me to look at that. And I just sat there. And, I don't know how long it lasted. It felt like everything. I just stopped. Couldn't move. And I came out of it shortly thereafter, looked down at my beer. I had a plug of chewing tobacco in my lip, and it was like, what am I doing? Dumped the beer, threw the rest of it away, threw the plug of tobacco out, drank some water, and went to bed. Came in, I woke up the next morning about 10 because I had the day off, and I operated under odd hours back then. Called my wife, told her I knew I needed to stop drinking, and she was like, yeah, I've heard that before. I've heard that a lot. We met with Ernie later that afternoon. I told him the same thing. Like, I know what I need to do. I need to stop drinking. He said, okay, yeah, we've heard that before. That went a week, and then it was 2 weeks, and then 3, and then, that 1 week, 3 weeks became a month, and 2 months, and 3 months. That initial time I had stopped drinking and went dry for 88 days, which was, honestly, I felt incredible. I felt like COVID was kind of a blessing in disguise because I got stuck working an overnight shift. And I look back at everything, and it was like how everything fell into place. That moment that I had in my living room, followed by this shutdown where I felt like the stressors of my job provided me an excuse to drink like that. That shut down, so I didn't have those. And then I got stuck because as management at the hotel, they said, we're not going to have hourly employees. It's just going to be our salaried employees that are going to operate the hotel. So you can choose one of 3 shifts, or you can indicate multiple shifts. So I said I would work 7 to 3. I didn't want to work 3 to 11 because I had a kid, and that was when my wife was awake and that sort of thing. So I wanted to be able to see her. Or I could work 11 to 7, the overnight shift. They saw that I could work the overnight shift and stuck me on overnight shift. Never been an overnight guy. But that really prevented me from actually being able to go out, or enabled me to prevent that sort of thing. Because if we're being honest, liquor stores aren't open at 7 in the morning. Maybe 8. I don't know. I was never awake early enough to see that. But then I couldn't do it, so I didn't have it. Didn't want to go before work. So it just pulled that availability away from me in that situation. And I came back and I mean, I toyed with it a little bit for the next 3 years. And since November of 2023, I am completely sober. So I have, 28 months of full sobriety at this point in time under my belt. But I look back at that moment, and there was nothing. I mean, I wasn't actively in an inpatient or outpatient rehab. I wasn't going to AA meetings. I wasn't meeting with a sponsor, or I didn't have those. I was going to marriage counseling to work on my marriage, and it was like, well, the problem is you, and it's your drinking. And that was the only thing I had. And to go from doing this thing every night, or almost every night from 9 years, to completely drying out, I have no logical explanation other than divine intervention. And I mean, it's just funny the way how God works in your life when you have that moment of clarity, to the COVID shutdown, which even prevents you from doing anything and working overnights the way it did. It felt like it absolutely felt like God was with me the entire way there. And I think back to one of the things that I have thought about recently was, what do I have any regrets in any of that? Because I mean, you sit there as an alcoholic of 9 years and you're like, well, it would have been great if I wasn't drinking, but every step of the way has brought me to a faith deeper than I could ever have gotten without that.
Wow. You're sharing your story with us and through this podcast. Do you ever feel, or have you shared this story publicly or used it?
Not to this degree. I've kind of written it down. I've kind of thought through it. I think obviously my wife knows that there are inner workings of our family that knows. I haven't told anyone publicly.
Sure.
I've wanted to. I love telling, because that's where I am at this point in time, is if you can help get, because for most people don't have a drinking problem, and alcohol's fine and that sort of thing. For those that do, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to admit that you have a problem, that you're powerless to it. And I am. Like, if I have one drink, if I have 2 drinks, I'm drinking till I go to sleep. And that's the thing, is if there are people out there, I want to help.
Sure. Well, we're blessed and impressed that you would take this time to share this story with us. You had the God moment, playing Madden, tobacco and beer, lamp on the side of the room. What would you say to someone who is in the situation that you were in to replace that God moment for them? What would you say to be the first move to something like that? Yeah,
because I wouldn't say keep drinking and hope that he comes. It's continue to search for God. So one of the things that I always felt, because I mean, like in college, it's at a liberal arts school, it's kind of hip to fall in line with the crowd, which, I mean, none of that. College is silly.
Amen.
But I mean, there's atheists, there's agnostics, there's whatever else, and you'd kind of try and fall in line, and you don't have quite the cliques that you do in high school, but there's still kind of that clique culture. And so I pretended to be agnostic and that sort of thing. If you've never been to Vermilion, South Dakota, It's a town of 11,000 people with the second largest state university in the state of South Dakota. It's got like 8,000 students. When I was there, it was 7,000, 6,000, 8,000 students, somewhere around there, in a town that's like the size of Mandan, maybe smaller than Mandan.
Sure.
So when you went out at night, you didn't. I was in a fraternity. We had a sober driver every weekend, but sober driver was typically off, busy doing whatever else. So it was like, this just walk back to wherever. There were times, intoxicated, where you try and find someone to walk with because it's dark and whatever else, and you're happy and jovial. But like, if I ended up walking alone, I would sit there and I'd talk to God.
Sure.
And it's there. I like to talk about or think back to times. There was a night in particular. It was like a fall night, and there was no wind, nothing. And I'm walking back, and I was just like, "Hey, God, if you're listening, can you do something?" Rustles in the leaves up at the trees ahead of me, and I was like, "Well, that's just weird."
Sure.
But I did, like, even as an alcoholic, I was always in pursuit of God to some degree. Like, there's got to be something more to that. I feel like, kind of the parable of the sheep and the shepherd with the 99 sheep, and if one is lost, you go to find it. Those people that have substance issues, I feel like so often that addiction tries to pull you away from God. God is always in pursuit of you, and it's a matter of time before he'll catch up to you. But if you keep running and you keep running away from him, you can stave him off for a long time. But sometimes you just got to stop, and you got to pursue the faith itself. You have to pursue God.
Sure.
And we had some, I mentioned previous ventures. We had some mixed messages that didn't really, I don't want to say they didn't sit well with us, but they weren't hitting the right chords in our heart. And I feel like I don't feel like it's coincidence that when we came to Inspire, it was shortly thereafter that I found that sobriety, because we did. We got here. I don't even remember what Randy's message was that day, but it struck.
Sure.
And it hit home. And yeah, it was not long after that where it was.
Well, even listening
got
to your story about going to college and the people you're hanging out with, that it's today's sermon.
It was.
And finding the people that you need to surround yourself with. And I think when you had said when you go to college, you maybe didn't do that. And we hear that a lot from different people, and how important it is. So I think that just struck me too, that was our whole service today.
We call it the Dare to Care podcast, and this can go both ways. This can go in your faith and with the, leaving the alcohol behind. Is there anyone beyond who you've mentioned so far? You talked to Ernie, you talked to your wife, you talked to God, the personage of God. Is there anyone else in your life who has really been formative to getting out of that and pushing you into where you are with faith now?
My mom has been a big help. I married into my wife's family is, we've had my wife and my sister-in-law on. They're a very faith-based family. That has helped push. I think it has just been, I've always had this pull towards God, always had this draw towards God. Because I mentioned baptized Lutheran. I had a friend when I was very young. His dad was a preacher at, I think it was a Lutheran church in Pierre. And I was friends with him for 3 years, and they ended up moving to Florida. Best friend was a Catholic, and I had so many conversations with him about, just God and faith and Christ and that sort of thing. And there were actually conversations about that kind of pushed me away from Catholicism. And it's not to admonish our Catholic brethren. We love them too. It's differences in beliefs and that sort of thing. But it's always just been there. I kind of feel like it's just something that has always, I've always been drawn to.
Sure. Very cool. Thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Yes.
It really, I'm shocked into silence in a very good way.
Yeah.
I am very proud of where you are now and impressed by how well you communicate the story. Because as someone who has been to a liberal arts college and has felt the pressures that you felt, and to a certain extent, the experience that you had in that college breakup and the temptations to move on from that and find things in that, I find myself looking back and finding myself in your shoes in a lot of ways, and seeing the way that you came out of that is really inspiring to me. So thank you for sharing with us today.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And we appreciate you trusting us with your story. And I mean, if this is your first time kind of sharing it publicly, and that's something special for you too, because that's another milestone to be able to open up like that.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate you, Blake.
Anything else you want to share before I close in prayer?
I don't think so.
Sure. Well, we always talk about closing in prayer, and we joke that if you're driving, please don't close your eyes. It's far more important that you stay safe and keep those around you safe. But if you wouldn't mind bowing your heads in prayer with us. Father, thank you so much for Blake and his family and his story specifically today. The way that you have moved in his life, the way that you have shown him your mercy above everything, the inspiration to leave our worldly desires behind, the temptations behind, and move on to betterness and a calling to be better, to follow you and trust in you more wholeheartedly. Bless everything that he does in his life outside this church, and bless everything that he does inside of it, and everything that he and his family bring to this place. Continue to brighten the hallways with the sound of his daughter's laughter and just what he and his wife bring to the conversations that they have in our Bible studies here. It's in your mighty name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in today. And don't forget, we want to see you here at Inspire on Sundays, 9:15 or 10:45. Also on Wednesdays, we have meal at 5, classes at 6 for all, and then our service at 7. Also, I think I can announce Easter for this one too.
Yes, we are. It's next week as of this one going out.
So Easter service. You guys were at Bismarck High again this year for both Friday, Good Friday, and Easter Sunday. So you'll find us at Bismarck High.
And the time is different, right? It's
It
9
is
o'clock.
9 o'clock for the first service and 10:45 for the second. So we'll make sure to blast that 1,000 more times.
You've probably
but
heard us say it a bunch during the
This is our
services.
very first Easter announcement.
Yeah.
Yay.
So anyways, if we don't see you at Easter, we'll see you next Thursday. Thank you very much for listening.